Welcome to the Startups and AI podcast. Today, I'm joined by Darie, who's the founder of SyncDev, as well as a co-founder of TrustDots. Welcome to the show, Darie. I'd love to hear about what you've been building at TrustDots and SyncDev.
Tech, yes, Gaurav, it's great to be here. It's great to be on the show. I've been pumped about this. I know we had to reschedule a few times, but I'm finally doing it today. Yes. So, like he says, I'm Darie Dorlus, the founder of SyncTech, Synchronized Technologies, the dev boutique that helps well-funded startup just feel like it's essentially fine. Build what we call MLPs, minimal lovable product, because it doesn't matter if it does one thing, it just has to do it well. But really, what I'm here today is to talk about the little thing that we're doing, right? Being the co-founder of TrustDots. Think of it as building the trust layer of the internet or of commerce, right? You're buying something, you get an instant score telling you the lineage behind the product, where it's been, how it's made, who actually owns the company, if they have lawsuit recalls, if they use child labor, it's good for the environmental practice. What we do is expose the facts, right, behind anything that you're purchasing at the time that you're purchasing. And hopefully that makes you make a better purchasing, a more informed purchasing decision.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a super interesting problem. Would love to hear how you came up with it. Like, what was the first time you thought about this and your thought process there? And when did you finally decide to do this?
Man, I feel like this question is going in many different directions. So the story that I tell is I was born an entrepreneur. I came out of the room selling CDs like, Doctor, do you want to buy this watch? Nurse, do you want the CD? Right? That's sort of my first hustle. My mom was like, he talks. And then, it continued throughout from like lemonade stand to making mixtape. Like I've always been entrepreneuring, right? Or what we call it hustling, right? I've always been doing something. Very early on, my brother was a computer scientist, software engineer. But I grew up in Haiti. In Haiti, it was sort of different. Software engineering, as I understood, was part IT, part programming. So I did a bunch of IT work. Sort of grew up in a household where there was always computers, always technology. And my friend group was very similar. So I sort of stumbled upon it. It chose me, right? I just happened to be selling those things. As far as TrustDots, I guess let me answer the question in two trenches, right? First, I'll mention at some point, ThinkTech, Synchronized Technologies, was built because I wanted to launch my own product. Back in 2012, 2013, when we launched this, I was like, okay, so I want to build my own thing. But I fast realized that I was lousy at launching products. I could build them, but I was bad at selling them. So we turned that into something that helps other people. If you fast forward maybe 12 years, I've met Kyle. Actually, the trust that idea, I'll tell you about it, wasn't my idea. My co-founder sort of seeded it, right? And he was obsessed with product provenance, where things are made, how things are made. We're talking about like, okay, so there's this kind of Coke, right? It was bauxite that turned into alumina, turned into aluminum that got like he was always amazed, like, how did this happen? How do we know if people are actually doing the right thing in each and every steps? So that was the seed of the idea. But even before that, him and I, over the span of maybe of a year or 9 months, we were pitching each other ideas, right? We realized that we were both, he had done some exits in some different company, and it was at a transitional period in his life. And it was, okay, if I'm looking for the next thing. And I was also in that, okay, I'm building the next thing. And we realized we were at a junction where we can help each other. We can actually do something together. It helped that our kids were best friends and we had a bunch of contacts, right? So we spent months finding whatever, we left no stone unturned. We talked about gifting. We talked about CO2 reduction. We talked about shipping lane. Like we had so many different ideas, but the goal was like we wanted to do something cataclysmic or something that could actually help make things better, something that can actually be meaningful to people and our pockets, right? Not just something green. And we landed with this idea. It's an obsession. We kept coming back to it. These products, like this divide that they have in the nation, in multiple nations. How do we know this thing is truly Haitian, American, Chinese? Like, how can we make sure that the thing that we're buying and we care about our kids is actually aligned with our values? So the code name of that became Made in America. So when we decided, okay, we're going to follow this product, this line of thinking, it took us 9 months of meeting multiple times weekly to even figure out, like, how do we go from this is a product, we trace its lineage to the fact, to the mind that it was made? Like, what does that mean, right? And we realized we were more talking about trust and value and in the product, in the company. So the whole idea of that space of ideas became trust dots. It's trusting in the invisible dots that behind any product that you have, right? So when you make a purchase today, think of your favorite product. You buy it and you hope that they did good labor practices, they didn't make the environment worse, right? And anything that if you have religious values, you hope that they are aligned with you. And what we're saying is, well, let's go and expose the facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's take this. So all these are dots that are meant to be connected. So that part of it, if you look at our logo, right, you see all those little dots that you see here. It's us connecting the invisible dots behind the thing that you're purchasing. And how TrustDot was born for the past 2 years, and now we had the launch phase, right? We just launched last December, but we still are in that launch period.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like almost everyone spends so much time making those decisions on like there's just way too many choices out there. So every day, like you're spending so much time maybe researching on ChatGPT or, just asking friends. It's a pretty interesting problem. Like, is there also like a blockchain aspect to it? Because I've heard like similar ideas in that, like, okay, what's like, can you tell me a bit more about like once, okay, you identified this problem, like what did you do next and how did you like, focus on solving it? Did you talk to like a few end customers? What was your process
Yeah.
like after identifying
Ooh,
it?
we talked to hundreds of people, and it became a recurring theme. Everybody that we talked to about this saw a different aspect. For some people, it was political. I was like, I want to know the company I'm buying from, where they're leaning. I was like, okay. Some people were like, I have values, like I care about child labor. Some people was environment. Some people was quality. Some people was reviews. Right? It was never just one thing, and it's thing that we had considered. And to talk about our process, in the beginning, it was me. I'm the technical person. I spent a lot of time experimenting. And I have to tell you, this is not possible without AI, right?
Hmm.
I use a lot, and we're talking about like 2 years. The space, the ecosystem is very different than what it was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when we really started doing this in earnest, right? And at first it was just me doing a bunch of experiments. And at some point I'm like, okay, so we need to hire a team, right? I need some help. And so yes, we talk to customers, talk to families. And what's beautiful about being an entrepreneur is that oftentimes I never like an idea that nobody finds resistance to. If I tell you what I'm doing, you're like, oh, that sounds good. I call bullshit. I'm like, no, like I want someone who's reasonably intelligent to find some resistance to the idea. It does two things, right? First, that makes it better. That gives me something to think about. And second, I have an insight that you usually don't know, and that's why I know we're gonna win. If you can start questioning that, I'm like, the answer is my insight that you don't have, right? So if people just think something is good, anyone can build it. So when you think of it like that, the blockchain is something that came up, right? It's like, oh, you put that on a blockchain, so you're making sure that the ledger is unfallible. You can't really modify it, and it's something that we have on our roadmap, in the future roadmap. What was important is that it was going to be very hard to map with what I just explained, right? Is the big vision. We want to map every step of the supply chain of a company from session to like delivery. We want to map everything. But as it comes to find out, that's a very hard problem to solve, right? So we started with branding, right? Let's find all the things that are there, the brand, the company, that we can start mapping. Come to find out, this isn't not even harder, but this is a very hard problem to solve as well, right? Because you have public data, private data, you have a bunch of, so yeah, we're sitting right now on 700 million products that we have. And when we're launching, we ask ourselves, well, we cannot launch with 700 million products. Okay, we chose arbitrary. I chose 30 million, but which 30? Okay, and so talking to people, I think one of the first things that we did, we realized that parents, first time parents even, were probably the first group that when you have a kid for the first time, you spend a lot of time looking and researching products that you're going to buy because it's precious. Your kid's going to be involved in all those things, right? So we're like, oh, what if we targeted first time parents and first time grandparents and show them, hey, this is a tool that you could probably use today and give us some feedback. And then we realized we're in the trust space. There was a bunch of people that were talking about trust in product in general. So we reached out to those people and get even more feedback. And so that we first believed that the first thing that we really did in December, we launched an extension. Think honey. Right, as you're shopping, the thing just pops up and then boom, there's a score. Great. Come to find out, we knew about this going in, we just didn't know how bad. People don't use extensions. Some people ask me, what's an extension? I'm like, what? What do you mean? And I'll send them the email. They would be like, why is it on it doesn't work on my phone? I was like, ah. So we need to build a mobile app, right? We can talk about that. We talk about AI, but
Yeah.
sort of the journey that we've been through.
Yeah, yeah. I think that like you brought up a amazing point. I struggle with that as well. Like, the scope creep when you start going deep into something, you figure out, oh, well, this one small problem is actually like a much bigger problem. And then you have to like really focus on, how do you launch? And especially now with AI, you could do so many things. So you want to do a lot of things. And so I want to touch a bit on that, like, finding product market fit. I know you've worked before and you've been like an entrepreneur before building TrustDots as well. Like, can you tell me like, your process or how in the past you found product market fit through this process to help out, people who are starting out? Like, share your journey.
That's good. I expected that question, but I expected it about TrustDot. And my easy answer would have been, we haven't found product market fit. We're still trying, right? But now you throw it in the past. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna make me think now, which is good, which is very good. This is a very good question. So for TrustDots, I'll start there. We, like I said, sort of jokingly, we haven't found that. We're still looking for that. We have a lot of good points. We have even some investors that are already like think it's a thing, and I don't want to like sort of like spill our IP, but if you look at where trajectory of where things are going, you could see why being a trust authority on on commerce to start with is a big thing, right? It's going to be very needed, especially when agents start making purchases. So it's on multiple level, right? It's business to business, is A to B to C, is B to B to C. Is there's many different ways that we're approaching this, and we're testing out all of it right now. Although we're focusing on the B2C right now, we want to direct to consumer so that they can use it. Like the app that I'm gonna send to you soon, you get to use and get a feel for it. You'd see sort of really lends the thing. And hopefully it gets adopted. How do I find product market fit? So I can use one example. There's this article that I wrote recently. It's called The What If Funds. And I'm using this as an example because I truly believe as a person, as an entrepreneur, that regrets really come from path untraveled, right? Part of the reason that we build Sync Tech is to not just be a technical partner, but I love being in the cat and mouse game, that product market fit game. That's why we always build the minimum possible thing, because no plan survives first contact, right? We have those hypotheses and we launch them, and then that's not what the customer want. They would always tell you what they wanted, right? Especially, which one can I talk about? I think this one's fun, like for SyncTech in doing dev for hire essentially is what it was, getting customers to come back without even asking them, right? Getting them to refer us to other people. That was sort of like the kind of like we really found a niche. Like, or when we went after fintech, right? It was the thing when we went after perhaps heavy like the industry. It was another one of those sort of growth moments. But the one I think is the more fun, especially for an entrepreneur, I want to talk about last minute bouquet. It's something that I had launched years ago, and it basically is what I'm saying. It's last minute bouquet. It's getting your bouquet delivered very last minute. Why? Because I am a last minute gift gifter. For Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, or on Christmas, I just always wait last minute. Things that I usually pay $40 for, I end up paying close to 200 because I waited last minute. But then I heard on the radio at some point on the podcast, and the flower industry was a $14 billion industry. That was back in 2019, right? But 11 billion of those 14 gets made in 3 days.
Oh wow.
Can you guess those 3 days? One is Valentine's Day. The other is
Mother's Day, I guess.
Mother's Day, and the last one is the one that people usually can't guess. It's around Christmas. A lot of flowers get bought around Christmas. So, and I said, I wonder how many people like me wait last minute to send loved one flowers. And I wasn't wrong. A lot of people do, right? But what's funny is that I'm in South Florida. I built the worst site possible, worst performing site I've ever built. The thing didn't work. The thing took like 7 seconds or 10 seconds to load the first page. But then the first time we launched around Valentine's Day, we ran out of stock, right? And then the next day, like with hours, people were like texting us, "Where's my order? When's it gonna get there?" I'm like, "You just ordered like 2 hours ago." Okay, so that's the fun part. But what this is really saying is what I call the what if funds is funds that I have that allow me like 5 to 10K to try things that I think about because I'll throw some money at it and see what happens. But then if I'm gonna spend the next 3 years or 4 years building something, I want to validate it fast. Like we're talking about, this is in 2017 or maybe 2015, right? There's no AI around, so someone has to build the thing. So I end up spending 2 weeks and spend a little bit of cash, build this thing, try it out as fast as I can, as cheap as I can, to see if people are gonna bite. And bite they did, right? First time we sold out, second time we sold out, and every time around we learn more about the market. So we ran this inventory less 3 times a year business that just sold a bunch of flowers locally until to the point like 4 years later, we're like, I don't want to keep doing this, right? There was a real demand here. We can actually exit or sell it. But then the way that I go about it always is how do I build I call it de-risking. How do I build the least amount of thing possible that can sort of like capture my hypothesis? Yeah, sometimes I call that prototyping with as fast as possible with the least amount of money possible because spending 100K to find out a year later that you built the wrong thing stings a lot more if it was just $3,000,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you brought really amazing points about, having a hypothesis and then like basically testing it out very quickly, inexpensively, and then yeah, just keep going. And that's, I guess, the best way to find your product market fit. Like you have hypothesis, you test it out, and then the market tells you if you were right.
Market tells you. Exactly. Exactly. Let the market tells you whether you get it right. And then don't be attached to it. Don't
Yeah,
marry an
pivot.
idea, right?
Yeah, be
Like
ready
pivot.
to pivot.
Let's move on. I call it like I have strongly held loose opinions or loosely held strong opinions. I'm like, I love this thing, and then boom, let it go. Next thing, I love it so much, boom, let it go. Next thing, right? And I just like iterating until we find the thing. I'm like, wow. So, I mean, to tell you, the market really for what I was trying to do wasn't undercutting the people. Wasn't okay, fine. People were charging $200 and was selling these flowers last minute for you had to do it the day before and you had to pay maybe 150, 179 for 12 roses. The market really, we started there by charging $55, but we ended up at having this concierge service where we charge $300, $400 for an experience like that was very elevated, right? The bouquets were just magnificent. The thing that we did was unheard of. Not only that it was last minute, it was also premium, and the customers love it. We had less customer, but such a higher quality. Now, so what ended up happening is concierge services from Amex and Capital One, that's who became our client. That calls us all the time, like, hey, even after, hey, can you really get flowers to XYZ place because we really love your service, right? That's what it became. And I was like, okay, I'm definitely not the flower guy. So we need to get rid of this, right? So that's exactly where, because we experimented, that's where we ended up.
Nice. I want to go back to AI. I think you brought a really interesting topic that, the future of commerce is going to be through these AI chatbots. And I think even today, like before making any purchase, if I have any doubts, I go to ChatGPT, Gemini, just say, okay, tell me a service that does this, and then give me pros and cons of each, right? And that's going to get more and more. And people are also probably going to see ads there, which ties pretty well with your product TrustDots. So I have two questions about AI I generally love to cover. One is, how is AI changing the way you work? And what's the second part is like, what's the future that you see with AI in the next 2 to 3 years? Yeah, feel free to talk about any in any order.
Man, you're getting me pumped up. See, can you see? I'm like getting ready. Those are very good question, Gaurav. So the workflow question, let's start there first. I would say this, and I would say it again. I'm gonna say it slowly too. Without AI, first that is simply not possible, right? I'll say that again. I'll let that sink in. Without AI, sure, is not possible. What do I mean by this? I have a team of 4 people, and I built something that would have taken a team of 30, maybe 2 years. And we did it in 9 months or less, right? I remember someone seeing the extension for the first time and they were like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, it looks so easy. And then they're like, you had to work really hard on this extension to make it happen. And I'm thinking, no, it took us 2 weeks. Like, what took us the 9 months, the year to build and all the research? Wasn't this? It's the machinery behind it because we're building infrastructure to actually decipher trust in product. This is very, very hard. I've been saying I've built hard things. I've built tax system. I've built HR system that process billions of dollars every day. I've never built anything this hard as we did TrustDots, right? So it's to say that the amount of data that we're crunching to come up with those solution is mind-boggling. Right? I just mentioned casually, we have 700 million products and growing, right? Like what? Okay. Only, right? So if you think about it, it's more product than Amazon. So if you think about it, it's a lot of things that we're doing at the same time. So where does AI come in? Well, when I hire, I mentioned that sort of in passing. The first thing I ask is, I used to ask people, I never really liked the coding interview, right? I would ask you something that you did. What I do now is ask you something that you did before and that you're excited about, and you tell me, oh, how you built something, and I ask you again. So how would you do that if you were to do it again today? What would you do it? How would you do it differently? What I'm really looking for is like how would you use AI to actually change everything, right? If you don't use the word AI, I'm already sure you're not. If you're afraid of saying AI in an interview, you're not the right person for the company, for the job. And second, when you talk to me about your agentic workflow, my dumb question that I got from like one of those conferences I went to is to ask you, how does AI work? How does an agent work? Like, if you were to design an agent, how would you do it? Like, build an agent yourself. Come to find out, it's dead simple answer question, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
loop. Just keep checking, keep looping. That's what it is. But it takes people. I'm gauging curiosity here, right? I don't know. I'm veering off the answer. To get back on track, what I'm really saying is we use AI in everything that we do. So I was talking to my co-founder and the team. I'm like, we are an AI native company, like in ways that most people wouldn't understand. But our product says nothing about AI, right? And our products that consumer facing AI, which we eventually gonna get there. But if you think about it today, all the AI companies have a chatbot somewhere. I'm like, we probably use more AI than most of them, all of them combined, right? Like when you think about the workflow, the mobile app that you're gonna see soon, no engineer wrote any code for. So in that time, we've perfected the process of development where the input and the output is what we really worry about, and the AI is still doing that, right? A PM, well, if I don't even know if you can call this guy a PM. Is a PM a designer, a developer? It does all. Our PM pushes more code than some engineers, right? So this is on the trust that front. Everything AI in Sync Tech that's I've been running for 14 years. It used to be we get a contract, we staff a team, and we go after the project. Get a designer, floating PM, we get 4 or 5 engineers, and then boom, we get the product for months. You just work at it and it's done. Now I only need one good AI forward engineer, and that person in an army of agents. When people ask me how many employees do you have today, I ask them, are we talking about humans or agents? Does that also count agents? Because we have dozens. We have armies of agents. So, for example, this conversation, my agent's listening to, and then will give me tidbits on everything, right? For my client calls now, I don't take notes. The agents do, right? And they know who client, what client I'm talking to. They know who to, what agent to give what problem. If there was a bug, all they need to do is for me to confirm. And they not only create it, they test it and they review it and they QA it. They send me a video of the thing and they ask me, "Oh, you okay if you ship this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ship it." And then it's shipped. And I tell the client, "Hey, the thing is ready now." But guess what? That used to take me 5 days to do. Now it takes me, I don't know, I'm playing with my kids. I'm outside. I'm swimming and still coding, right? So this is how I think if you truly are willing to put in the work and automate your workflows, those things are possible. And it wasn't, you've been doing this for over a year now, but 3 years ago, that wasn't possible. 3 years ago, all we could do is like tab through things, right? Or maybe cloud code a little bit and then make it do things and have to review it. I review code now only when I sense something might be wrong, right? I even teach my agent how I perform, how I see performance and make the reviewer sort of do the work. The auditing is very great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying. Like things that are possible now, and especially with the newer models, I think it started after like Claude 4.6 or 4.5 that
12.5, yeah.
there was like a shift, even like in the work that I was doing, that it was basically able to do work that maybe like, intermediate engineer could have done. But it still had some, you still had to do a lot of work. But then every 3 months with now ChatGPT 5.5, and just yesterday, I think we had
Stable.
Mythos Fable, which is like a bit of a version that doesn't have like, I guess like everything in terms of, because
Yeah.
due to cybersecurity risks, they
Yeah.
haven't even released the entire version yet because even they are scared. So yeah, I think like things are moving so fast that like our minds can't really comprehend. And even Claude and OpenAI is saying that 80% of their code is also now Claude is writing Claude. So
Doesn't matter.
yeah, like that's something I'm seeing, and partly because of that, like I've started this because I give rise to a lot of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who were right on the edge, always wanted to do it, but now like that has been possible. So yeah, totally agree. Yeah, let's talk about what do you think, because the things are moving so fast. What do you think the future is going to look like? Do you have like a dystopian vision or a utopian vision? Like, what do you think if things keep
Maybe somewhere
moving
in
this
between,
fast?
right? I'm the
Yeah.
realistic version. I'm a definite optimist. Being an entrepreneur, that means that, right? I believe things would work out, but I make the plan to help it along. Yes, those models are getting so much better. And you would not believe I do so many talks, and every time I ask this question, what do you think the future is like? And I'm starting to see the pattern, right? I think when I first was asked this question maybe a year and a half ago about AI, and my answer was like, the immediate future of AI is agentic. It's agentic. Could you even believe it? A year and a half ago, agent wasn't a thing. And I was like, that's where we're going, people. And I've been saying like maybe a year ago, I was like, okay, agents are coming, or maybe 9 months ago, I was like, okay, the future is personal agents. Personal agents. Personal agents is gonna be a thing. Now you OpenClaw wasn't even a thing. What? And then OpenClaw came, and all the other ones started popping out, and lo and behold, 9 months later, ask me the same question again. What do you see the future going? Which is good. I believe oh man, it's such a loaded question. I'm going to answer the question in multiple facets. First one is I led big sort of like tech organization departments in big startups like Gusto and Ultimate, and most recently Gusto. And we're talking about like Gusto's is like 13 time a unicorn. And you're working with some of the highest caliber engineers, and present company included, right? I think TrustDots and SyncTech, because I have so much sway on the people that we bring in. And it wasn't like, okay, we've been doing this for 20 years and most of my engineers were already forward thinking and we always experimenting. So it was a much easier transition. So I see some of the best engineer that we're talking about, people that are producing, I don't know, like 400 PRs in a quarter. Like I'm just giving numbers on PRs, great quality code. And in the beginning, I saw all of them being very resistant to any models. It's like it's a junior engineer, it's intermediate, it isn't good, the code's bad. And I was already seeing what was possible. I was like, I leave on the bleeding edge. I like to try those things out, even if it doesn't work fully. I'm like, look, it takes a little bit more work. But what I believe the assumption was then is if you use a .NET package, npm package, we call it a .NET NuGet package, or Python pit package, and it sucked, 5 years later, it still suck unless they do the complete overhaul. People keep that same mentality about AI and AI models. I'm like, the model that sucked like 6 months ago can one last around you 6 months later. You cannot even say ChatGPT is a bad model, Claude is better. You've got to keep trying them, right? Because they've done the next thing, and the next thing you know, Olama now is good. It's decent. Quen 2.6 is just freaking amazing, right? Well, the first version didn't. So there is this constant outdoing of themselves. We're talking about order of magnitude better. That's what the models are doing. And they do more and more and more. The reasoning gets better, the thinking. Hell, we used to have to give models a lot of context to go do the work. And now it's recommended from Claude, from Boris Cheney. Be as minimalistic with your context as possible. Let the model agentically figure the thing out. I was like, what? Like, that was a mind shift for me when I'm like, wait, am I doing this wrong now? I thought I was doing it right. Okay, cool. So now to get to the real answer, the future is going to continue to be agentic. We're going to see more and more people adapt agents and personal agents. And I'm doing that in my businesses right now. The future is also agentic commerce. You're going to start seeing that you tell your agent to go to the purchase because why did we use Google? Think about it. Think about like how you use Google. You do a search, you go to a bunch of links, do a bunch of comparison, right? And then make a choice. And sometimes you get like overwhelmed by choices and then you give up. But what does an AI do? Crunch data. It can actually do a better job. You can look at, and maybe you look at 20 links. You can look at 5,000 links and still make a better judgment than you would have looking at those 20, right? So I can taste it. I can see that Walmart is already doing this with Google and Target, and OpenAI is again talk to with Visa. So you can see all the major players are trying to figure out the agentic commerce protocol. This is going to be a big shift. So you're going to be buying things by telling Siri, hey, go buy this thing, but also I want it at a discount. And also I don't want it to be a product that made the environment worse. It has to be sustainable. It has to not use child labor. It has to align with my values. TrustDots, right? And someone needs to be the authority. Anyway, I'm connecting back to TrustDots. So there's that. And I'm gonna finish by making this analogy. I heard maybe Sam Altman say something very similar, but I've been saying this for a while too, which I thought sort of resonate. If you think of horse carriage before the car was invented, that was the state of the art technology. You should ask someone if you want to go faster, they will like get a better horse, get a better breed, or get more horses, right? And then Ford came along and said, well, what if we just created a motor and then we got that on real? Maybe in the very beginning, some horses would still beat that first version of the car. But then imagine after this car was created and 100 years passed, how many industry became possible because of that one invention? Not because of horses, transportation was still there, right? But the increase we got in everything else. Uber, arguably, is impossible to happen without Ford inventing a car. Ford never saw this coming. Of course, in the beginning, there was an outsized influence. There were some people that benefited the most from this. But can we really say that after 100 years, after 50 years to now, did it really matter who benefited first? Because it became a thing that the world is using that is indispensable for the world, right? That's how I see AI. I think right now, we had the infancy. And Sam Altman made this comparison to electricity. Someone invented electricity, but arguably without electricity, there was no computers. You understand? In the beginning, sure, the haves had electricity and the have not didn't. And it looked very unfair. But then given enough time and given enough time to people to sort of perfect and keep working on that technology, it became a thing the world can't live without. This is how I see AI. I think we at the precipice of something great. Look, there were times where we look back like, man, I wonder how that was like in history. We are one of those times right now when this thing is happening. Some of us don't even know it. Hell, most people use ChatGPT to ask it if they should feed their pet celery. I'm like, this is probably the most consequential technology to ever been invented. Opinion, personal opinion. And you ask me if you should feed your cat chocolate? Like what? Do something with it. Anyway, I'll stop here.
Yeah. Like totally resonates with me as well. I think I heard a similar example around refrigeration somewhere that like when you couldn't have had a Coca-Cola, like one of the largest businesses, if someone did invent refrigeration. And the company that invented refrigeration didn't make as much money as Coca-Cola did. So, AI could be similar to that. It's like refrigeration, and then what you do with it in solving actual problems, that could be like opportunities for entrepreneurs right now. And yeah, I totally agree. I think we're at yeah, we're witnessing history in front of us, like which maybe not every generation had the opportunity. Like maybe when electricity was invented, it probably could be something like that. So yeah, totally agree. What are your top lessons for, someone starting out wanting to be an entrepreneur in this age of AI? Like what are the top three lessons or, tips or even like your inspirations that you look towards? What would that be
Yes,
that you'd like to share?
it's good. It's a good way to segue to me. I'm guessing we're winding to the end here. Always be shipping. Is that's the first thing I said, right? Always be shipping. Life's not that serious. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. AI made building cheap. It didn't make bad ideas good. A shitty idea is still a shitty idea, even if you can build it fast. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, it used to take you weeks and buku bucks, money to get your prototype out. You could do this using V0, Lovable, Replit, whatever. Choose your poison. You can get something out really fast. Be obsessed. Be obsessive. Be obsessively grateful first. And second, be obsessed with validating your idea. Get it out, create fake doors, let people use it, get feedback, and build the first right product, right? Validate your hypothesis. It's so cheap now to validate that you should keep building. That's what I'm saying. Always be shipping. Ship the thing, validate it, iterate, ship again as cheaply as possible. Make sure that your bad idea gets filtered out. So my biggest advice is exactly that. AI made building cheap. You can build anything you want very fast now, over a weekend. It didn't make your bad idea good. It might still be a very bad idea. So get to validation, get to know that it's bad as fast as you can so that you can move to the next one. And hopefully, eventually, with enough iteration, you'll get to the thing that works.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think like in the end, even as things are becoming more agentic, I think what our as human, like what our job is going to be is to give goals. It cannot come up with like the best goals that we are looking for. Like in the end, we still have to give goals and they need to be good. And, like you said, the idea has to be good. It has to be something that the market needs. So yeah, just iterate, get feedback. And probably the best time to build. Anything else you wanted to talk about AI or trust?
We covered most of the time. Well, TrustDots is launching at an app store near you sometime very soon. Hopefully next week, and by next week I mean like June 18, right? Within days, we're within days of launching. Please do check it out and let me know what you think. You've heard it here first. As far as AI goes, I said it before, man. It's the biggest technology to be invented in a very long time. And we're talking about like it used to be if you wanted your kid to have the best education, you get him a tutor and you can afford it, and that's really hard. It's money that you have to spend. Right now, with $20, you can get a tutor in your own language. I can teach your kids math, right? It's like a AI can level the playing field, and I'm very hopeful that we get there. I know we're very early on, and it feels uneven, and it is, but I'm hopeful that we'll get to a place where, just like we talk about the unbanked people that couldn't get access to financial institution, and the phone made that possible. I'm hoping that AI accelerate education to a lot of people, right? When you talk about the future earlier, that's a part I didn't actually mention or talk about. I'm hoping that technology actually enable all these things to happen. The future I see AI as the enabler, as the electricity, as the refrigerator, as the car that will make so much more possible for so many people that now otherwise would not have been have access to whatever that thing's gonna be. And that's what I truly hope for that to happen. That's probably what I want to close with too.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. That's the hope, where everything is accessible, like with intelligence. Now, like, education, healthcare, almost everything, like, for people around the world. The best case scenario is, AI enables it very cheaply to everyone. And yeah, again, it's the best time to build. So for anyone out there, build in education, healthcare, AI is enabling all that. And there are a lot of opportunities and the best time to build.
Now,
Awesome. Awesome.
GSD,
Well,
all my entrepreneurs out there, GSD, get shit done, okay? Go out there and build it.
awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ari. It was amazing chatting with you. And good luck with the TrustDots launch. And yeah, hopefully it
Thank
becomes one
you.
of the biggest brands.
Yes, thank you. Pleasure was all mine. And this is gonna be a pivotal moment, right? We'll get back to. Remember that talk he gave to Gaurav and in the very beginning? Yes, he was the first one to see it. And I hope you a lot of success in your endeavor and with this podcast too. I hope it blows up because that's self-serving first, but also I love to see people that I know do big things.
Awesome. Cheers. Well, thank you so much.